Welcome, my friends, on Monday afternoon. What's today? April the 7th.
7th.
When's
April the
Easter? Couple of weeks?
2 weeks from yesterday, yeah.
2 weeks
2
from
weeks.
yesterday.
Palm Sunday.
Is that
next
early? Is that like an early day?
I think it's a little early. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do, because it's usually in the first, I think the first part of May.
I was out in the yard this afternoon. I whacked my head on a tree. I was going to blame you for hitting me, but I'll have to tell the truth. But it wasn't all that warm. It was like 60, but it was the wind is still a little chill in the air.
Eddie, I got my Red Sox shirt on, as you
Yeah,
see.
you do. You look good, too.
I made opening day.
Has it got a number on the back?
Shilling.
Shilling.
Yeah.
Jesus, he'll probably buy it back off you. You might
He'll probably
need that.
go in the Hall of Fame. Maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, he'll go in the Hall.
But anyways, I made opening day, and it was cold. It was cold in
Yeah,
there.
that was
The ceremony and all of the things that they did, the rings, and it was hey, it's
a little too much, I think. isn't
yeah.
it?
Well, it went an hour and maybe an hour and a half, I guess.
Yeah, nice.
They had the firemen, then they had the Boston Strong, and then the ring ceremony.
July would be good.
Yeah.
Sitting there, drink beer, listen to all the speeches, see the airplanes fly over, all that kind of
Holding a
stuff.
beer, I was like this. I'm saying.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Cold. I had gloves and everything on.
And then they faded at the end.
Oh, I was at Mass General going by when they gave up the 2-2 was 2-2.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, there isn't a lot of business going on down in the old City Hall this week. So we'll have to make some stuff up if we get through this too easily. Target, residential zones. I don't know how they're going to get around this taxi business in a residential area. The analysis or analogy they used was like a plumber. He might have his van there.
Yeah,
And our new Alderman Light says, I'd rather have the Lincoln
taxi.
Continental and then the
Well,
plumbing.
I read that, and you know what my answer was? How about if you had a broken pipe?
Yeah.
How about if your sewer was coming up your cellar? Then would you wish you had a plumber beside you?
Yeah, you'd have a plumber right there.
A.J. Black,
Yeah.
Dick Black, Scally.
But they get that rule in there that you can have one car, well, not unregistered. You can have one unregistered too, I guess. But you can have a business there if you have one unit. So I don't know how they're going to get around that when they try and switch it around a little bit. I don't know where it mentioned the two big companies, Checker and John Devine.
And John Devine,
right?
Cab.
So now, I suppose Devine could operate out of his where the buses are in North Woburn if he wanted to. They're usually up and behind Dunkin' Donuts there.
Yeah.
The people
He could. I would say he could. And
I don't know where Checker keeps their cars.
Salem Street.
Oh
Over in
yeah, well
Salem.
that's their headquarters.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where they all operate out of right over
Pretty
there.
much, yeah. You find like John Devine, there's one fellow I'm very friendly with out of Burlington, Danny Pratt, they call him Harry. He takes his car home. He takes Devine, it's owned by Devine.
Yeah.
But he takes, if you saw that cab, it's the best cab that Devine owns. This kid takes good care of it.
Yeah.
He's been with him a long time. I don't know if you know him. He's got that
Handlebar mustache. Yeah, I
yeah.
think I do know him.
Danny Pratt. He was an ex-Marine. He was on the detail with Kennedy when Kennedy was
really?
in Germany, yeah. Kennedy went over to Germany.
Yeah, I'm a Berliner, he says.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to get around that, but that'll be interesting because you're going to have to make some changes in the zoning. We're getting kind of fussy here. We're getting kind of, people don't want this and they don't want that. They want to have low taxes and they no business.
Yeah.
No. So that'll be coming up. That'll probably cause a little aggravation before we're through with that. The Blues Festival is coming back, the Veterans Blues. Mr. Dever and Mr. Murray will be down in Library Park. They just got a liquor license from David Gilgun and Medeiros and Skeffington.
Yep, and it's going to be a little different, I guess a little different setup that they, as far as be able to have a beer and don't stand in a small area. They're going to let them move
Let you
around.
walk around a little bit?
Move around a little bit. I think they're all pretty much level-headed. There was no incidents last year.
No. It's an older group anyway.
Yeah.
in a few years, it takes 10 years before these kids coming back from Afghanistan, see, then they'll be going to it,
Yeah.
see. But right now, we're dealing with Vietnam and Korean War guys, they're all old. But there was some conversation about the perimeter, you know, like somebody was gonna jump over the fence instead of paying the 20.
You know. But
God.
they did very good last year, and they raised, as you know, some funds, and they've been distributing to different things in the city right
Yeah.
now. They have been given. I think I just read they gave a check to what, Boys and Girls Club or something. Was in the paper. Social concern. Somebody just got a check from them.
Yeah.
So, hey,
But I saw our esteemed veterans agent the other day, and he was talking about Friends of Veterans. Now, they got a group too.
yes, they do.
It's not the same though. It's different.
It's different.
But it got almost the same name for something for veterans. You know, they're
I
all
get,
for veterans.
I made a donation to Friends of Veterans about 2 years or 3 years ago, and you know, you get the solicitation on the phone, you know, wounded warrior type of thing,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I made a check and I sent it, and then after I checked with Larry Giuseppe, he said to me, Paul, you're better off to make your donation local. Local, not, he said, with one of your organizations right here in Woburn, because he said that organization is a national organization.
Right.
You're lucky if you get 30 or 40%. Now, if I send $50, I would hope
Yeah.
that the 50, but he said,
No.
half
That's the
of that's
trouble.
going to go to the administration.
that's
The
the
guy that's
trouble with
calling me
those.
up. So,
Yeah.
that's, a matter of fact, I just got a call last week similar to that, Eddie, on my phone. I said to the guy, I deal local,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. And now we're going through another thing. We had pink, everybody was pink downtown last month, and now we're gonna have purple Thursday
Yeah.
because we're having a different group of people
Yeah.
looking for money. It's a business. It's a business. Fundraising is a business.
It is.
And you have to, I guess, they always say, you should see just exactly what amount of that money, if you give $1, how much of that money actually gets to the people who need the help, you know what I mean? So I really don't know.
You know,
But boy, when you think of, just in this school alone, the kids are always running something for breast cancer or some kind of
Raffle and
cancer. Now,
stuff.
they do that in every school in the United States. That's a lot of money. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means we should have a cure or what, but I mean, maybe they raise a lot of money. There's no question about it.
yeah.
But if I get sick someday, I hope somebody raises a money for me. Ha! So that's the 23rd of August. Mark it down. Blues Festival at Library Park. The Wildwood Avenue MBTA terminal, the ride. They're trying to go over into a building over in East
Right at the
Wildwood
beginning.
Street. The first building? No, not the first one.
Not
You
the
go-
first one.
There's a little hook
Actually,
in the
it would
road
be
there.
the third if you're coming in off of.
Yeah,
'cause
off
you
of
got,
Sailor
you got the
Street.
forklift fella, and then
Yeah.
after that, there's another building, and then it would be the third. It was where rice paper.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And probably about 15 or 20 bays, you know, overhead doors
Yeah.
face out to Wildwood Street. I think the biggest problem there is the straightening out of Wildwood Street with the future lights. We've been talking about that for 8 years. There's money put away for it, but it's just, they couldn't, something happened between the city and Paul Mahoney. I don't know whether it was the amount of money. He owns the 2 houses there.
Yep.
And one was gonna come down and they were gonna
They were gonna
move the
move
ranch,
another
I
one,
think,
yep.
over to the,
Yep.
where the road is now. I thought it was a good deal.
I thought it was a good deal too, because,
Yeah.
I mean, geez, it solves a lot of problems.
If you can line it
Right
up with,
there.
come close to lining it up with Wood Street,
Wood
you know?
Street, yeah, I think they were gonna get it pretty
Yeah.
straight there.
Something happened there. I never really got
I mean, it
into
didn't affect his greenhouses or anything.
No,
Yeah,
no,
so
no.
you know, he just had a number in his head that the city didn't want to come up with, I guess. I don't know, but it was not a good,
So,
I don't know how they're gonna do it now.
I think that hurt this proposal, Eddie, you know, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And plus the number of vehicles that they were gonna put there, so.
Can the city, I can't remember really a case, but can the city exert pressure? Could a mayor and a city council exert pressure on somebody to do something they really didn't want to do?
Well, you can take things by eminent domain.
But that seems to be, is that a
That's a
long
long process.
Yeah.
And you got two dwellings here, two houses here.
Yeah.
One was gonna be removed, the other one was gonna be moved. That's an expensive proposition, even if it's going down, it's not going far, but still, you got a new foundation and all these other things.
Yeah.
Like you say, the state has more money and more authority than this local authority. I mean, when they put in 128, they took Crawford's Farm in Burlington and put it right through the middle of it.
Yeah.
You know, and then on the second time they widened it, they took my grandmother's house on Wynn Street. So, and she wasn't happy at the time. And so, can they take it? Yeah, but it's a long process. A long process. So,
there's no such thing as being vindictive enough to say, I want to get this job done now. Come on, let's get going. You know, put some pressure on them somehow.
I think if they could, there's always negotiations. When you can talk to the person involved, you hope that there's negotiations. Maybe things can be worked out with a little bit of tax abatement on the stuff that he has. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, come up to something that might. What I use the term is that carrot. Get that carrot out there and see if you can.
Yeah,
you
this
know,
is taking too long.
It's a long time. It is very long. You're right, too long. But
I mean, it's a safety issue too. Besides, although I don't really, the times I go through that intersection, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. But I mean, the times I do it, there's not a lot of traffic. People are working, but they claim in the early in the morning and late at night, it's pretty rough there.
It's tough.
So, well, maybe someday they'll get it straightened out. Draper Street, the planning board approves an auto body paint shop. That's like, okay, you know what Draper Street is? You get a medal if you know what Draper Street is.
Yeah.
Because Draper Street goes off of what street?
Well, it'd be Monfield and close to, well, no, it'd be Monfield, right? And
You go to Montford, just before the bridge, take a right. What's that?
Nashua.
Nashua. And then you go down Nashua a little ways, and it
Becomes Draper.
It becomes Draper. So when it gets to the industrial area, that's Draper Street.
Where they had they moved a lot of ledge out of there over the years.
Yeah.
Hefferon, right?
Yeah, Hefferon,
And the post office was down.
Post office
down
was there.
Years ago. So,
yeah, the kid was making cement down there. What's his name? Danny.
McHugh?
McHugh,
Did he
yeah.
have a
He had a
cement
cement
truck?
plant down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that for a couple of years.
But they built some decent little buildings there.
Yep.
If you've been down there.
They did. And this guy is
Chip
a one-man operation, but
Yeah.
he's going to have now, since he's moving from Winchester up, he's going to have one more person besides himself. It's pretty hard to do anything all by yourself. But he's only going to do a couple of cars a day, paints them, and that's it. So it's a good spot for that kind of stuff, backed up right to the railroad tracks. And
He doesn't bother. There's
there's nothing
no
there,
no resident.
No.
You know, the closest one is the cemetery.
yeah,
On the other side of the track.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. Or you go all the way down to, if you went down the tracks, you'd be all the way down to Cross Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's good. That's another guy who's got to pay some taxes. Okay, Main Street, North Woburn. Woburn Truck and Auto. We should get Mike Raymond,
yeah. Let me come.
find out what he says.
Yeah.
Because this won't be done by next week.
I went up to City Hall the night, and I tell you, first of all, you know, when you see a large get-together, usually see it not at a public hearing like this.
Yeah.
It's usually on a budget, especially the school budget. You know, they kind of packed that City Hall. This thing there was no seats, and they were standing out in the rotunda. So
who raised that group?
I would think the majority of them, because Joe Tarby, who's representing Bobby Holland, asked for a show of hands, and he asked the chairman or the chair, which is Rich Hagerty, And some aldermen said, well, you know it's gonna be overwhelmingly, opposed or favor.
Yeah.
Only about 3 people spoke opposed. And the majority of people there were working men. You could see by their shirts they got up, and, their attire, that they're in a business, some type of business, and they were supportive of Bobby Holland. You and I have some history with that location and the dump.
Yeah, the dump, yeah.
I was thinking, so I went home and I watched it on TV, and I was thinking of Mike Raymond was an alderman, Cirillo was the alderman.
That's right.
And I think Mike Raymond got involved in the end of the filling of the dump, and we'll use the word DEP and EPA and the Aberdona River. He had meetings I went to a meeting once up at the Alta School that him and his wife ran. I went in and sat down because I wanted to listen and see, to listen to what was going on. But it under the different administrations, when we had an open dump, different administrations ran it differently.
Differently, yeah.
And, under the Dever administration, we woke up, I would think we woke up a little too late.
Yeah.
We got a 80-foot hill there now, and all of a sudden, people said, how did they get there? Well, they got there because trucks were lined up at 4:30 in the morning, coming out of the big dig.
Yeah.
And bringing stuff to Woburn. And Bob Dever said, well, I got paid $1 million. Yeah. Well, I think we got 1 million headaches.
Yeah, you might have.
Now Laurie Robbins, who owned Woburn Auto Truck Parts, I knew him very well. There was days that I went up there, he'd call me up, can you come up and take a look at what's come? I go up, he said, I want to get a piece off that truck out there. He had a Horn Pond in his backyard because of the runoff of the dump. So the city had to put a drain in, and then also had to pay him some money. There was a court case there.
Yeah.
Now, let's say this, Bobby Holland's not a bad guy.
Nope.
And you might say, well, that doesn't entitle him to do things. Well, I think the character of the person counts a lot.
Yep.
And he's done a lot of things for Woburn. He's a good taxpayer here. He owns that ice rink, the half ice rink on Salem Street. My understanding was that different kids that, he lets Woburn people use it. I don't know what the fee is, but I know if you can't get into the Joyce hockey rink unless you go at 4 in the morning. There's people over there at 4 in the morning and 1 in the morning. I couldn't believe it. I used to go over there at 6:30. I was moving a political truck around, a sign. Yeah. At 6:30, I'm pulling in. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's full
They're all
of
going in with cars. Oh my God. 6:30 a.m. And kids are coming out with their bags, lugging that stuff. Recycling, we don't use junkyards. You and I remember Buddy Day's junkyard.
Yeah.
Joe Shafino, remember
Yeah,
Joe?
right on Wynn Street.
If I told you where you go get an ice cream breaker, that was a junkyard. Now you might say, what?
That's right.
But it was.
Yeah, it was.
And so Paul Madeira started recycling. Let him tell you how much money he's raised for PTOs. I mean, he goes into a schoolyard, he'll go up to Spence Farm, and people bring up all types of things to recycle. There is a value in metal now. We remember when there was a value in paper. And
newspaper,
and we used to have the bags there that you get your grain in for horses and chickens, and they used to recycle that and bring it over to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I hope they can come to some type of an agreement, because I think Bobby Holland is a decent guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think he wants to upset any neighborhood.
Well, he's pretty successful in Billerica. Huh? He's got a big auto recycling place in Billerica.
He does. Like when you and I were talking earlier, maybe he can come up with some good size screening.
Yep.
Screening, so they just take away, we'll say, that look. But I have not seen what he has done. But I remember when Laurie Robbins was there all by himself, No buildings, nothing on Breed Avenue.
No.
Anchor Auto Body wasn't there. That was the old railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So, hey, I hope they can work something out.
I'm sure they will. Ms. Gatta, how are you? Do we have sports? Let's see what Rain has got to say today.
Hello folks, and welcome once again to Sports. As always, I'm your host Ray Newcomb, and today we will be looking at various topics from around the world of sports. The NCAA March Madness tournament is in its final days, as Kentucky and UConn have both won their semifinal games, advancing to the final round and one step closer to the coveted title of NCAA champ. Kentucky snagged their spot in a nail-bitingly close 74-73 victory over Wisconsin. UConn earned their place in the game with their defeat of Florida by means of a 63-53 win. In NHL news, the Boston Bruins and Philadelphia Flyers met on Saturday in a classic game of hockey filled with fists and goals. The Bruins took the early lead, but the Flyers no sooner came back and tied it. However, the Bees would pull away with a victory via a 5-2 win. This is just another game in the Flyers' troubling hit-or-miss record as of late. Red Sox baseball is back in full swing. The Sox kicked their season off with a fantastic ring ceremony and a truly touching tribute to two brave firefighters who lost their lives days before. However, after the ceremonies, the Sox showed some off-season rust, as they would fall to the Milwaukee Brewers 6-2 and then again 7-6 the next day. I believe these are just early season jitters that aren't really anything to worry about, as the Sox always seem to bounce back. In local sports news, the Tanners' lineup of spring sports teams are gearing up for what they hope to be successful seasons. Well, that's all for today, folks. For sports, I'm Ray Newcomb. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Rain. How about the weather, Ms. Gatta? Oh, we're getting 60s now. We're going to be good. We're getting a tan. We'll be getting a tan.
Eddie had the heat on.
I don't
this
see.
morning.
Yeah, the heat was on. It was cold. Yeah. Where's the rain? It's supposed to come tonight there. Oh, that's Tuesday.
Oh,
this
Tuesday.
rain's over by
She
that
took
time.
Monday off.
It's Monday night. This rain's going to be up. Okay, so we don't have to worry about Friday. The golf will be starting.
Have you started?
No, we haven't started. But we'll probably start Wednesday, though. They probably will.
50.
Now, after you get your fill of the weather, which should only take about a minute, we're going to show a clip of a program we did with Dr. Gary Reese. No? Not yet? Okay. What do you want me to do? Talk about Gary Reese? Yeah. Fine young man from Lexington, Massachusetts. Now, that's where he's brought up. I don't know where he lives now. Came out of Lexington, went to Fitchburg State, but I'm sure he'll tell you that all himself. And then he got a master's degree at Fitchburg, went to Boston College and got a doctorate. Very bright young man.
I watched your interview.
A lot of ideas. These people have a lot of ideas about educating children. But the point is, it's all about the money. Everything's about the money, you know what I mean? Like, how old would you have them in school? I think he said 4, because the 3 is they're a little not socially connected yet, you know what I mean? So they don't know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. But 4, start them at 4. All right, what, you ready to click it on there? All right, Dr. Reese we're gonna show you, this is an idea of a conversation I had with Dr. Reese. Now, if you're a young person, you got children in the school system, this is a guy you want to talk to or listen to. And if you're not even married, but you're going to have children in the school system, then this is the guy that's going to see that they're educated. So let's go there, Ms. Gatta. Dr. Gary Reese, where'd you graduate from high school?
Lexington.
Lexington High.
Lexington High.
Couldn't be much better. You don't, I mean, in the general area, it doesn't get much better than that. Is that where you grew up in Lexington?
I grew up in Lexington.
Okay, so now you went away to school to become a teacher?
To become a teacher, a special education teacher.
That was your idea right from the beginning? You went to Lexington High and said, I'm going to become a special education teacher?
It was.
Really?
Yeah. I dealt with some illnesses in the family as I was growing up, and I knew that I wanted to work with kids and help people. And
Wow, that's wonderful.
And that
And
was
you
the
get to
direction I
do
went.
it too.
Yeah.
That's even better. So getting up in the morning and saying, I'm gonna go help these kids out, that's a pretty good feeling if you get kind of a job, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so where did you go to school to learn how to do that?
I went to Fitchburg State. I
Yeah.
got my bachelor's actually from Norwich, and then I
Norwich
went
up there
in Vermont.
be in the Army and all that stuff? Yeah,
And-
that's good.
And then I got my master's from Fitchburg State in special education.
Nice. So even at that time, you had to write a lot. I mean, getting your master's degree, you had to put out some kind of a publication. What did you write on then?
They didn't do a thesis or
Oh,
a
they didn't do a
dissertation
thesis then?
for that. It was more just studying the different areas of
Oh,
working with
I thought
students
they all did that. So now you went over to Boston College?
for my doctorate.
Why?
Why? They had the best program that I felt would meet my needs in looking at educational leadership.
What year was that? Do you remember? Couldn't have
I-
been that long ago.
I went there, I graduated in 2007.
No, that's all. That's good. 2007. Here we are, 7 years later. So then, when you graduate, you go out there and say, "I got to get a job. I got to pay this. You must have student loans. Dynamite, huh?"
I still have student loans.
Yeah, you might have them for a while. So now, you go over to BC. Now you graduate from BC 2007. Where do you go to get a job?
Well, at the time, I was still the principal at the Linscott, but what I wanted to do was kind of expand my opportunities.
Oh, you were already working in the business.
I was. So I'd been the principal at the Linscott for 5 years.
Yeah.
But I felt like, given my new degree and the fact that I wanted to reach a greater range of students, not just
Right.
elementary students, I went to become a director of curriculum for a couple of years.
The Wyman
job.
School looks good, didn't it?
Yeah.
In that picture.
The school looks good.
Maybe
Yeah.
we get some elderly.
We talked a little bit about
Maybe
the
we'll get some
school.
elderly in there.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I think so. That's what else can you do?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the new school, but I don't know where they're ever going to put it. So they hired a guy and paid him $500,000. He's going to tell them where to
us.
put the school.
They tell us. I could tell you
Just
right
go.
now.
Yeah, I'll tell
Want me
you.
to tell you where
Yeah.
it should go? Someplace on Wyman Street.
Yeah, someplace on Wyman Street.
Yeah.
And there'll be an argument over that because the young man we had in here, what was his name? The guy that writes the letters for the Times. But anyway, he represents.
Oh,
the-
Grillo, was it?
Yeah, Grillo,
Yeah,
something
he
like that.
doesn't want
And he said, no, that the promise was when they put the farmers market there, they wouldn't build a school. I said, yeah, I know that, but
Yeah.
that was for 50 people living on
Promises
Wyman Street.
made, promises
We're
broken.
talking about 40,000 people live in the city, you know what I mean? You gotta make a decision for everybody, not just
Yeah.
a couple. All right. Now, we left the truck parts, so
Yeah.
now let's go over to the former Verizon site, which is Verizon Phone Company, I call it.
Yep.
Phone company over there, just past the Joyce on the right-hand side, a lot of apartments around there. And Boston Edison came there, I don't know how long ago, a long time ago.
40s,
though.
50s.
Yep, they built a garage there on that street.
Yeah.
And it was a very handy location for them because they could jump on 128, get out and do
And it
their
was good for
work.
Woburn.
And they were
You
right
know,
here.
good for
in
Woburn. You needed service.
Yeah,
there.
and you could get service there, yeah. So that was a nice operation for a long time, and I'm sure they paid their taxes right off, you know.
Oh, yeah,
did that.
Edison's a good taxpayer. Then
So
Verizon.
then
Verizon
they left,
went in.
when they left, the city was thinking one time of this is before they did the public works situation all over down North
Yeah,
Florida.
looking for another spot.
They were looking for another spot, and they were gonna take over that garage. And I don't know how much of it, I'd have to ask Dickie Gately or somebody, but I don't know what kind of investigation they ever did to find out whether it was worth it. But it was a situation where you could almost put everything the city had underneath the
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause
covers.
there's two overhangs there.
Yeah.
And there's bays, so you open
Right.
garage
So now I
doors.
think everything pretty much is indoors down there now, anyway, so
I
they
would think
fixed
so,
that.
yeah.
So they passed on it anyway, and then, so Verizon went there. So now Verizon is gone, and Herb Chambers, who has a million car dealerships, you should see the ads in the paper every day in the Globe, he wants to park cars there. And I think we discussed this before, because what happened in the olden days, you bought a car, and Mr. Landon wrote it out, and he sent it out by teletype to wherever, Ford or someplace, and they shipped the car to him. You had to wait a couple of weeks
Oh,
for the
yeah,
car
the way
to come.
sometimes if you wanted a certain interior, a certain color,
Right.
you could wait a month.
Right.
You
So
know?
now, the companies, Ford, Chrysler, all the rest of them, they make the dealers buy the cars. So now he has to buy 500 cars. So what are we gonna do with them? We have the Chrysler over the Four Corners.
Lawless.
He's looking
Good
lawless. He's
dealership.
looking for a space.
He's always looking
Yep,
for
he's looking for
spaces.
space.
Olson Cadillac,
Olson
another
Cadillac.
good dealership.
Gonna park up behind the church.
Church. Lannon Chevrolet, I think Lannon, I
He's
don't.
got a parked across the street in the back.
Yeah,
and
he has
other-
both sides of Wynn
Yep.
Street.
And
And
then the-
Woburn Ford Motors now, if
Yeah, he's right on
you
120.
if you bought a Toyota, which I have in the past, you go down there, believe me when I tell you, you talk about tight.
You
Just-
you either can't get in there or
No,
can't get out of
yeah,
there.
well, if you get in, you're gonna have a hard time getting out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. So, you know, we got some good dealerships here. Herb Chambers has been very good to Burlington, in my understanding, as far as helping the town, helping sports in
Yep.
Burlington. Parking cars there with some restrictions on, you know, hours that they can move a car and this and that, no left turns to the joist. I've even made a suggestion to take over the Long Green, which is down by the joist, Jimmy Long's, we'll call it a little spot that was named. I happen to be very familiar with that. I'd like to see some benches there and some flowers, and I believe that Herb Chambers will do that. So, you know, just,
I don't know how, he's not gonna buy who owns it? Like, who got the lease there? I mean, I
It's a
don't think he's
big
gonna-
company in New York.
So they lease it
They
to
own it.
Verizon.
So if you said, well, what would go there if they say no? Well,
500 apartments.
it's 5.5 acres of land, and it's zoned R3, which is apartments. Now, you and I lived it, I voted for some of those apartments. There was a feeling that no apartments in Woburn at one time, if you remember that. There was a couple of aldermen,
Yep.
the late Benny Barati, he was against apartments.
Yeah.
So county apartments that you have on the west side, so if you said, well, another apartment building, the apartment building right in front of this building, Eddie, there was a house there. Now, I happen to know the time when that house was moved over to Lexington Street, which is now owned by the Dooleys.
Yeah,
That
over
house there-
on.
That house there was on
yeah,
Cambridge
that's
Road.
right.
Now, and I know the people that built that little apartment building there.
Yep.
So I'm familiar with that area pretty good, as you are.
Well, I don't know exactly what the reason is. There was a lot of people at the public hearing, I believe. So I don't know what, basically, you know, they don't, it's a typical, when something's gonna change in the neighborhood. Traffic is one thing, they don't wanna deal with traffic. They don't wanna have cars delivered at night, you know, and then they have cars, they probably have, old guys like me that run cars back and forth from there up to their dealerships, or maybe out to some other delership where they sell the cars. So, I don't know if the.
I think restrictions at night, I think the lighting can be handled. I think the deliveries, can be handled. I think there's some things that you could work on. Now, do you want that? If you don't, then something is gonna happen. with that
Something's
piece
gonna
of-
happen there, yeah.
That's a valuable piece of property.
Yes, it is.
So,
So we'll keep an eye on that one. 17,000 from the Harlow Trust, computers for the new, not for the new, for the Woburn Memorial High School Library. The library is, let's see, for my direction right here, the library's
Right in the
over in
back,
that
yeah.
direction. So it is a beautiful library. The glass is all in the front. You can look out and see Montfield Avenue, all the grass, the parking lot. It's just, it's a beautiful place. They
now,
do a
Eddie,
great
7
job.
or 8 years old, those computers are,
Yeah.
and they're obsolete.
Yep.
Now, just think of that.
Yeah.
Obsolete, you know, the whole new.
And they've probably been obsolete for 3 or 4 years, so therefore it's good that they're getting them, because you should change them more often. We deal with some of this stuff with the computers all the time, the computers in the school, because some of the kids take art programs on computers in the art section of the school, and then they
That's
come
a-
up here to change, and they're not compatible, you know what I mean?
That's a trust fund that you and I didn't, well, there's a lot of funds.
Well, they used to,
different-
this
Was
one
this
here,
under
I
the
think
school
my
department?
sister,
Or the
yeah, I think
library?
it's the library.
You think it's the library itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that they used to use that money to buy books.
Okay.
So somebody now has kind of squeezed it over into computers. And now these kids here, every time I walk by the library, there's a bunch of kids sitting in there using these computers. So they're not sitting there getting dusty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of use for them. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So that's good. Maybe they get, I don't know how much money's in the Harlow Trust, but
What did they spend there? 17,000?
17,000. Yeah. CN Wood's a big company in North Woburn that sells bulldozers and big heavy equipment and stuff up on Merrimack Street.
He's
And
a
they
good,
want to build a new garage.
that's a good business.
It is. They're very, Bernard's a good guy.
Oh,
still.
Bob Bernard
Yeah.
is a Class A guy.
Class A guy, yeah.
And like I even watched Mike Raymond say there was a restriction, don't use Merrimack Street or School Street, and he hasn't.
No, he doesn't.
goes down New Boston.
Yeah, they go through the industrial
Yeah,
park.
and they came from Burlington too.
Yeah, they
If you
did.
remember, they're
Yeah.
right on 128 and Route 3. No, he's a class guy. I thought that would have been voted on that night, but they sent it to committee. Sometimes, you know, when you hear a permit like that, why not get it out of there, you know? But they sent it to committee.
Because I want an opportunity to speak on the issue at the committee level. You know what I mean? This is all inside baseball. You know what I mean? They know already it's going to pass. They just come in, drag it out for a week, maybe, and see what's going on, and make a little speech about it, and then say, I was the one who got it passed. So, okay, that's good. Okay, we need $106,000 for 2 new positions in the school department for maintenance, and one is for a custodian in one of the schools. I think it was the Shamrock School, maybe.
Now, you see, those positions there, I think have some merit. You know, have merit more than, we'll say, I won't.
Well,
get
they
into
lost
any
one.
job.
Yeah, they
Any
lost
job.
one a couple of years
You
ago
know,
when things were tight, so they
because
want to get
we
them
gotta
back.
keep these buildings up, Eddie.
Yeah,
We have to.
yeah. They do a good job on this one. I don't know about the rest of them, but
Well,
this one's good.
So I think that's something they should be looking at, is maintaining these buildings.
We're gonna paint the town purple on Thursday, so
Yeah.
if you got purple, something purple, wear it on Thursday, because Relay for Life is having a fundraiser, so they're gonna try and get everybody, paint the town purple, we're gonna put up purple light bulbs or something. So I hope they're successful at that. And the Veterans Business Assistance Dwyer bill included in Valor Act 2. So I think what they do in the State House, where they can't get a medical marijuana store or they can't get a casino, they vote to help veterans. Now, you can't go bad there. So you just say, well, what shall we do? Let's help the veterans out, because then they'll say we're good. Because they in there, that is a mess. That whole thing is a
the
mess.
hourly raise.
Yeah, the hourly
You're up
rate.
to $10.25
Yeah,
or 50 cents.
and in the meantime, if for the guy who's been paying everybody $7, he's gonna get a break on his workman's comp insurance too, you know? Everybody's gotta get a little piece of the action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not happy about that, but I am, you know, I haven't seen him for a while anyway. I hope he's doing well.
Let me
But,
get a couple of plugs in here, Ed.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Listen,
for it.
the Woburn Business Association, which is a
Woburn
great organization.
Yeah.
It's been around almost coming up to 30 years now. We have a guide. I'm going to leave some of these with Eddie. This lists businesses in Woburn. There's some good write-ups on different businesses. And even on page 29, look at on 29, open that up, see if you recognize that fellow.
Is my picture in there?
No. 29, do you recognize him?
29, there he is, Dwyer, state representative.
So anyways, this is a good guide, that's one. The second thing is, the Woburn Business Association will be sending out telephone directories. They're going out through the mail. No more of this throwing them on your driveway and then it rains out. They're going out through the mail to every home and every business. Over 10,000 copies will be mailed, and I believe it's this coming week. So you'll get that. So these local guides are good. We ask you to shop and buy in Woburn. Shop and buy in Woburn. Also, I'll give you a little pointer. the city of Woburn is out sweeping streets.
Yep.
They started down the south end. If you can just sweep your sidewalk, it only takes a couple minutes. If you're an elderly person like myself, you get a grandson. He came over with a blower and he cleaned off my sidewalk.
Good for him.
You know, and I had to give him a little something. You know?
Yeah, that's all.
So, but anyways, just give that a thought. Go out on your own, take a broom, sweep your sidewalk. It helps Public Works. And you know, a nice, clean neighborhood means a lot. It means a lot.
They just did Draper Street today. It looks good when you drive down there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sand out there. You know, we had a tough winter. So that would be my recommendation. You want to help your city and help yourself. If you can't do it, then get a kid down the street. He'll do it.
He spent 1.2 million on the snow removal. They had 276, which is outrageous anyway, 250 or something like that, set for snow removal. So now he's going to raise that, the difference there through the tax. We're going to pay taxes on the money to raise the money to pay for the snow removal. Now, I think that's a good idea, but I don't know how you can keep that up. You know, because if we're going to have global warming and spend $1 million a year on snow removal, boy, that's going to hurt.
That's the highest I've ever.
Yeah.
Hey, I think the most I can never remember was like 350,000.
Yeah.
Before the blizzard of '78, we didn't spend $1 million. You know.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money. But
it was coming in there a foot at a time.
You know, Eddie, I sit back sometimes, and you do as you read the paper, and we used to think $100,000 wherever we were going to spend it. Wow, that's a lot of money. We're spending $1 million.
Yeah.
What's $1 million?
That's right.
You know, it's almost like the point that what is $1 million a day? Now, if the mayor can't pick that up on new assessments, and there's not too much going on, there's a little bit, but there's not much. If he can't pick that up, it's going to fall on your tax rate.
That's right.
You know, and so those are big ticket items. But so other than that, hey,
good to see you.
It's always good to see you.
All right. Thanks for watching. Next time.
Good night.